Hi everyone, my name is Maria, and in this video I would like to share with you 15 ways to use your 5-year or 3-year journal if you have one. If you don't, I guess I would recommend you getting one because I've been using mine, which is from Hobonichi, since last year, and it has been just such a great tool for me for a variety of purposes. So let's get started. Idea number one on how to use it is as a memory keeping. Every time I visit museums or festivals or concerts or I travel somewhere, I try to keep the tickets and then just add them to my journal. So years later, when I will be going through it, I'm sure that it would evoke a lot of cool memories. Idea number two is something that actually was recommended by my therapist, which is a reflection journal. Sometimes I have certain questions to myself and I don't really know how to answer them. What helps me is reflecting on certain events, whether positive or negative, and writing down what I thought, how I felt, how I reacted to this event, or how I wish I felt and wish I reacted. And then I just use it as a tool for my therapy or self therapy when I'm trying to go through my reflections and find out what was right, what was wrong, why I had certain reactions to certain events, and so on. So, this has been very great for my mental health. Idea number three is to use it as an art journal. I'm not a very artistic person, but I wish I was one. I only have two sketches. One is from when I went to Louvre, and another one is when I visited Portugal for the first time. But I'm trying to learn how to draw at least some basic stuff, and I'm sure that over the years, if I continue with my drawing journey, it would be very fun to watch my progress throughout the 5 years as I go through the journal. So I think that's the idea for now. Number four is something that I call a project journal. Let's say that you have a project to complete, something work related or personal. In my case, it's weight loss or my meditation practice that I'm trying to improve. So it's this big project that I try to break down into smaller goals and set milestones. And sometimes I write little reports in the journal about how it's going. So then I can go back and reflect and also analyze what was right, what was wrong. I don't do it every day, but I try to do it every week, especially with everything that has to do with my weight and exercise routine, with my health and skincare routine for my allergies. So everything that is a long-term project and that I would like to reflect on from time to time. Idea number five is a habit tracker, and I know that a lot of people prefer having their habit trackers in their daily journal, same as me. But if you have a specific area of life, a specific set of habits, let's say your morning routine that you want to work on, I think that would be a great way to just track your progress. And for me, it was so interesting to go back and see what time I was waking up last year and what I was doing in the morning, and how now, when I'm a freelancer and I worked full time last year, how all of it has changed. So for me, because morning routine and my sleep routine is sort of a big deal, I believe is very useful. Idea number six is quite creative. I absolutely love it, but I haven't tried, to be honest, and it's one line a day. So I believe that it's for someone who wants to be a little bit more artistic with their journaling and probably make it more fiction-like rather than just describing your day. I've also seen an interesting variation of this online, which is one haiku a day. And me, as a person who just loves poetry, I think I would love to try that. So it's one of my goals for next month, just to try it out with my journaling. Idea number seven is very similar, and it's one photo a day. I know a lot of people might say, why do I need this? I have an Instagram, and I think that I understand that. But still, there are some photos that I really like to keep as a physical copy. Those are like pictures from my birthday or some very important events in my life, and I try to print them and keep them all here. So it has been working out great for me, and I think now it's becoming something like memory keeper slash photo album and reflection and goal setting and everything all together. And I believe that it would be a very interesting thing to read in 5 years. Idea number 8 is for someone who forgets to journal and then goes back several days and has no idea what to write about. Me, guilty, which is 365 question list. You can find a lot of those online. I will leave a link down below to the one that I'm using. Basically, the idea is that you have one question, which is like the existential or just a very interesting question to answer. Let's say, how do you define success? And then you answer the same question throughout 5 years. So right now I'm using it only for the days that I skipped and I don't really know what to write about. But now I'm thinking it would be so curious for me if I had a journal like that when I was 20 or even 15 years old. It would be so interesting to read my answers back then to those questions. So I'm thinking about practicing it a little bit more and creating maybe my own list of 365 questions. So in general, it's just a very fun thing to do. So if you don't know what to write about on a daily basis, I guess I would recommend that. Next idea is the quote of the day. And I think it's for someone who loves reading or just loves quotes, or same as the previous one, for someone who forgets to journal and then you don't know what to write about. I like doing it as I'm reading a certain book, and then I would just highlight the quotes in the book, and the most important for me, I would just put in the journals. So it becomes a quote keeper from my favorite books. Idea number 10 is something that I got from one of the comments on my first video, which is writing down the news. Those could be local news or international news. So you would just write something down, something that you saw on TV, heard, read about, something that happened in the world on that day. Unfortunately, in the last few years, I believe if you do that, that could look pretty sad considering everything that is happening in the world right now. But I also believe it's a good idea for someone who follows a specific kind of news, let's say art news or sports news, having a little digest, and then in 5 years, your journal would just become an important historical document. Now let's get to 5 of my favorite ways to use the journal, and the first of those, so number 11, is the gratitude journal. And I know that it's very popular, there are lots of videos out there, but for me personally, it was such an eye-opener that if every single day I write down 1, 2, 3, hopefully things that I was grateful for, it actually makes me happier. I go to bed thinking, okay, my life is good. Yes, there are things that I want to improve, but so far there are so many things and people that I'm grateful for. Together with my mindfulness practice and my reflection journaling, I believe that it's just something that makes me really happy, even though it's so simple and I was so skeptical about it for a while, but now it's one of my favorite things to do. Number 12 has been working great for me as well, and it's something that I call the achievement journal or 3 victories of the day. As someone who has signs of imposter syndrome from time to time, it has been a great thing for me to improve my self-esteem. The idea is that you write down at least one achievement, but again, ideally 3 achievements, victories that happened during that day. Sometimes it can be something really big. For example, when I was passing IELTS exam for my master's degree and I get a very high score, that's definitely an achievement. But then those could be small things. Let's say I have a problem with overeating from time to time, so I went to the restaurant, I ordered a dish, it was pretty big, I wasn't hungry, I didn't finish it, and I packed the rest with me. So there are already 2 victories for me, even though they're relatively small. The first one is I did not overeat. Good for me. And second, I did not waste food, which I absolutely hate. So I packed the leftovers with me and I finished them at home for dinner or whatever. So writing down things like that has been really fun for me and also educational. And whenever I feel down, I go back through those days and read about my amazing achievements, sometimes very funny ones, but still. and it just makes me feel better about myself. Number 13 is something that I call how I failed and what I learned. All of us fail from time to time. People, of course, have different reactions to their failure. And sometimes I, for example, tend to overthink and overanalyze and maybe even get into this self-blaming cycle. So what really helps me is trying to love my failures, analyze them, and think what I learned from that. Let's say I had a job interview and I feel like I didn't do very well during the interview, so I could either feel sorry about myself or I could just write down things that I think I could improve next time. And that's really helpful, productive, because I don't think that suffering and feeling bad for yourself is productive. So that's another thing that I've been doing probably every third, second day in this journal. Number 14 is the reading diary. I just love reflecting on the characters when I'm at the beginning of the book and then when I'm at the end of the book, when I'm reading fiction. And I just like writing my thoughts down when I'm reading nonfiction like science books or self-help. Since the beginning of this year, I have been doing these collages in another planner, which you can see in my shorts on this channel. But I'm thinking about stopping doing that and actually switching to a separate reading journal. But so far I haven't found time for this, so I'm sticking with my 5-year Techo as the reading journal as well. And finally, the last one, which is one of my favorite as a person who speaks several foreign languages, now studies another foreign language, is the language learning tool. As someone who has a lot of years of experience in learning and teaching foreign languages, I truly believe that practice is the key. And if you don't have that 1 hour for a class, or you're too lazy to open your Duolingo, but you love journaling, you could just do a word of the day. Let's say if you are at the very advanced level of learning the language, you could learn one complicated word, which is like the idea or a term, and then journal a little bit about that. Or if you're at the very beginning, let's say you're learning food vocabulary, you could just write down the recipe of your favorite meal or just a new recipe that you found, but in the language that you're learning, using the target language like the food ingredients. Another thing here is what I call the grammar of the day or the grammar of the week. When I teach English to adults, I love asking them to do that, actually pushing them to do that. If there is a grammar structure that they're struggling with, I would ask them for the whole week, every day, to send me 1-2 sentences using that grammar and putting those sentences in a real context. Let's say they're struggling with past tenses and they would describe something that happened during that day. So you can do that in your journal. What I do is, let's say now I'm trying to remember my German grammar, which I believe is gone, so I'm trying to get it back. And let's say I want to write down 3 achievements of mine, but then I struggle with certain grammar. So I use that grammar to write about them in German. Well, that was the last idea of how you can use your 5-year journal or 3-year journal or just any journal. And thank you so much for watching. I would be very happy if you subscribe to my channel. If you want more videos like this about stationery, study habits, self-help, maybe education in the future. I want to thank all of you for all the likes and comments and support that I have been getting because I'm just starting my journey on YouTube. I'm really grateful and I hope you all have an amazing day.